Hello everyone, let's talk about May and all those books that we went through and we read. So, what did I like, why I truly enjoyed, what I hated, and what left me confused. Now, we're going to start with the first two books that I started, and they are part of a series of six books written by Nancy Springer. The one I have on hand is Enola Holmes, The Case of the Left-Handed Lady. Now, this is a young detective novel involving our heroine, Miss Independent Enola Holmes. And Enola by nature wants to defy society conventions and live her own life without compromising her personal freedom and ambitions. Something that in the late 1880s Victoria London is kind of frowned upon, since females are seen as weak and of inferior intelligence. And don't get me wrong, although Enola is privileged in her financial status, she's just 14 years old when she runs away from home and moves to London after her mother suddenly disappears, and her two brothers, Mycroft and Sherlock, trying to send her to school so she can be properly instructed. Now, the plot with her brothers, the issue that she has with her brothers, is that in their eyes, Enola is just a child, wild, uncontrollable, that has been raised improperly by their mother. So this can lead her in the future to be either robbed or destitute or even raped. Now, in my opinion, however, the plot is rather predictable. It felt kind of flat, and this is partly because of Enola's experience as a detective. Also, she has a very judgmental attitude, and even at times, the whole story just falls flat. Now, I find that Enola as a character failed to display true cleverness and maturity despite all the fluff in the dialogue. So to me, this book felt middle grade. And I would say that if you are over 14 years old, I think you might find more enjoyment in the Netflix adaptation. Because it is an adaptation, I believe that the Netflix series feel more intricate, more elaborate. The plot lines feel more developed, and even the humor and the clumsiness of the situation and the ambience of the story can be appreciated more. So, all in all, just to wrap it up, I think this series, in my opinion, even though it's funny at times and it is a light-hearted read, it is not worth collecting or keeping. Next in line is a beautiful ethereal story for me, and I'm talking about the fantasy novel by Axie O, The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. And I must admit though, if you consume a lot of Asian content, whether it is manga, anime, webtoon, dramas, and of course literature, you're going to be fairly familiar with the elements in this story. Now, the plotline is very simple and not overly produced. We see here, we open up with the story of a small village that has a tradition of sacrificing the most beautiful girls to the sea god to pacify the god's wrath towards humans. So in exchange, humans can benefit from prosperity of the lands and the rivers and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that despite all the yearly sacrifices, a lot of hunger and death and wars still occur. So when our main character, Mina, hears that his brother's love interest or his girlfriend is selected to be the next bride, she hides in the boyish and she takes her place so her brother doesn't lose the person that he loves the most. So Mina sacrifices herself because of the love that she feels for her brother. And although Mina is very upset at the gods because of their failure to answer the people's prayers, she finds herself in this new world led by mystery and a lot of conflict against the sea god. So she volunteers to help resolve those problems in hopes that in return humans can enjoy peace and happiness. Now, I have to say the plot twist of the real identity of the sea god and the rivalry between the gods is always exciting but kind of expected. So I know this is a YA novel, but I wished the characters would have shown me like more yearning, more sadness, more emotion. So I don't know, maybe because I watch too many dramas, I wished I could have seen more longing in their love relationships between the characters. But all in all, this is a very dreamy story, very positive, with very high morals and family values. So if you like this type of content and you appreciate gorgeous illustrations, this book is definitely a plus 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 in my rating. So believe the hype, because this book is simply gorgeous. So I better breathe for this one, because this next book left me confused. And I'm talking about The Infamous Verity by Colleen Hoover. So where do I start? I have questions. I have tons of questions. So the story is about Verity. Verity is a writer that is bedridden due to a car accident. And on the other hand, we're also presented with the character of Lowen. Lowen is a young, up-and-coming writer that receives a proposal by Verity's husband, Jeremy, to finish Verity's book. Now, this will mess up with your head big time in many, many ways, because the psychological layers of the story are just, I don't know, they confuse me. So, despite the enormous amount of sex recounted in the story, which personally made me very uncomfortable, I don't know if the author intentionally messed up the plot to confuse the reader, or if the author left the plot as is, just as an open interpretation. For example, who do you think the victim is? Everything evolves around Verity, but we know nothing or very little about Jeremy. And I truly understand, the layers of, grief and lies, and how those can trigger the worst side in a human being. But was Verity that manipulative? And was Lowen's silence towards the end really meant a second chance for Jeremy? Or did Jeremy intentionally plot this second chance? I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. I would say that this was a fast read, and was highly engaging, but it was mentally asphyxiating. I mean, I felt as all this spider web of lies and openness, and I don't know, it turned me off. So I have heard mixed reviews about Colleen Hoover's novels, and I can understand why. I am not sure I am prepared to read another novel by her. I feel like after this one I need a vacation. So if you have not read Verity and you want to read it, approach the book with caution. I'm warning you. Again, I mean, it was very engaging, but these layers, and I left, the book was kind of like an open ending, but the true face, the true intentions of the characters, the lines were just too blurred for me to have a proper opinion as to what I think. So I don't know, just read it with caution. That's all I have to say. Now, before I continue, I must tell you that I love to collect stories involving libraries or bookstores. I have always found them fascinating. So it is by no surprise that my next pick was The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. And this is more of my alley, something that I truly enjoy. This is a historical novel depicting the lives of two best friends who moved to London in search of better prospects, only to find themselves fighting to survive World War II. So, once you dive into the story, you cannot put the book down as you feel like you can truly relate with each one of the characters. Nothing in this book to me felt wasted or elongated more than he had to. Now, the city of, London under attack, by Nazi Germany, and the patriotism of the time and the response of, the locals and, the people in the country overall was very heartwarming. And you might think that stories of war may be boring or too graphic, but I truly believe the author did an splendid job at highlighting the positive side of such situations. For example, those moments where, women were very quick-witted and adaptable, and they took charge and they took different roles and positions to keep things going in society. So, if you like historical fiction with a very strong female characters, then this is definitely a keep. You are going to enjoy it because it was a solid read. So I highly recommend if this is something that you also enjoy or are looking forward to hunt for, the next book to read. Last but not least, we have the Book of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser. And this is a more contemporary, grown up type of book where there's a lot of topics to be discussed, like age shame and relationship distrust and heartache and divorce and moving on with one's life. So, I find that the book does a great job at showing us all the mental struggles that women have to go through in life, feeling sometimes that even in the worst of moments, resilience and friendship can lift you up and make you look at the future with brighter eyes. Here, our main character, Althea, finds herself living in a small village after separating for her husband of 20 years. So, not only she feels betrayed, but also doubtful of all the things that she thinks she would have done better, especially after the breaking up of the relationship came out of the blue, and it was completely unexpected and blindsided. So, all in all, my takeaway here is that pain and fear can come across in many shapes, and this story makes great use of all the characters' flaws to bring together all the childish assumptions that we make as humans to run away from hurt and, not necessarily to break a bad cycle. Also, all the characters were very amusing and entertaining, especially Thea's love interest. He had a very peculiar, dark humor and grumpy attitude that was just refreshing at all times and very welcome. So, this is a lovely, realistic story with a very strong yet emotionally vulnerable female character. Very worth the read. I highly enjoy it and I recommend it. So if you would like to give it a go, in my opinion, is a 5 out of 5. I was engaged. I liked it. So there's nothing more to say. I really enjoy it. It was very adult like. So Very positive. And this is the end. Let me know what did you read in the month of May, and if you have any suggestions of possible reads for other months. If you have any comments or questions, do not forget to click the subscribe button and put all your comments in the comment section. And I hope that you have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.